Look, I'm happy the Goodreads Choice Awards added a Romantasy category, but I think they're missing a few. Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. If you've never been here before, my name is April. Goodreads Choice Awards just came out and I was gonna do a reactions video, but I've seen a lot of those around and honestly, my reactions were just kind of meh. There really was no surprises, although I was surprised I actually had a Romantasy category this year. I love it because that's one of my favorite genres, honestly. I love historical romance and I love fantasy romance, romantic fantasy, romantasy, whatever you want to call it. It's a great category. I'm not too happy with some other changes they made, but you know what? That's for another video. In this one, if you are a Romantasy fan, definitely check out the books on that list. There are some on there that I didn't even realize were fantasy romance books, like the Jasad Heir. I thought that was a fantasy. I never knew. The Hurricane Wars, again, thought that was just a fantasy. But apparently there's a romantic element in there that I need to read. There were a ton of Romantasies that came out this year in 2023 that were so good, not included on this list, and I thought I would just pop in a few of my favorites, but also some that I think were pretty hyped that didn't make this list for some reason, that also I need to read. So let's get on with the list of more Romantasy books that didn't make the Goodreads Choice Awards list. The first book I want to talk about is The Crown of Oaths and Curses by Bree. Now, this book absolutely did not make this list because of likely the number of ratings it has. It's only a little over 6,000, but also because it is a fantasy romance book that has absolutely zero romance in it. And I'm still putting it on this list because even though it has no romance, it's only the first book in the series, and this is going to be an absolutely epic, slow burn romance between enemies. You have a witch and a fae prince, and they are warring against each other's people. The fae prince is absolutely committing genocide against her people. She hates him, he hates her. They won't even touch each other. The only time they touch each other in this book is when he grabs her by the throat, and there's so much tension because these two are also fated mates and they are absolutely resisting their every urge to be together because they have so much hate for each other. He won't even let her ride his horse. He makes her walk behind and calls her it. I mean, this is one of the best enemies to lovers romances that has no romance in it that I have ever read. The second book in this series that comes out in February, it better be nothing but an entire 500-page grovel because that's what I expect from these two. And honestly, I think it deserves to be on this list. It's in the category, even though it has no romance in it. It should absolutely be on this list. Now, I know Carissa Broadbent already has 2 books on the Goodreads Choice Awards list for this category. However, I think one is missing, and that is 6 Scorched Roses. This is a novella, and it is in the Crowns of Nyaxia world, but in a lot of ways, it's a standalone. It doesn't really have anything to do with the main story. You're talking about 2 people that are in a completely different part of the world. Lilith's entire town is being ravaged by a plague, and she is the stemminist of the century trying to figure out a cure for it. She thinks that she can go to the local reclusive vampire and collect his blood, and his blood should be able to help her find a cure for this plague for her village. And when she goes there, she makes an offer of these 6 roses in turn for a vial of his blood every month. And thus starts this very slow burn, methodical, but yet lovely romance between this vampire and Lilith. It's great. Carissa Broadbent, I think, is just having her moment this year, and every single book of hers deserves to be on this list. I haven't read Ashes yet, and I'm sure it's going to be a 5 stars because literally every book I've read from her, I think I've given 5 stars. Also, 6 Scorched Roses has almost 40,000 ratings on Goodreads, and it sits at a 4.28. So really, why? Now this next book is honestly just a personal favorite. I would put this in the top category of top romantasy books that I read this year. It does not have a lot of ratings, like literally just barely over 1,000, and honestly under a 4-star rating, but I freaking loved it. I had so much fun with this book that it has to be here, and that is The Book of G by Lily Archer. This is a Gaston redemption story. So in Beauty of the Beast, when Gaston goes over the ledge and falls in the river, this story picks up from there. He has no memory of who he is, and he's still the arrogant prick you think he's gonna be. And it's his redemption romance between him and a girl named Charlie, and it's really great. This is kind of a road trip romance. They encounter a lot of different monsters that he reluctantly kills or tries to help Charlie defeat. Over the course of this adventure, he slowly falls in love with Charlie, and he really is not a good guy still. It's not like he becomes a good guy. He just kind of reluctantly becomes a good guy. This has the one horse trope in it and just a lot of great banter. It was quite a great adventure. I had a lot of fun with this. I certainly would put it in my top romantasy books of the year. And so that's why I'm adding it to the list. I definitely think you should check it out and give it a try. Another book that I haven't stopped talking about all year, and y'all are probably sick of me talking about, but I 100% think it should be on this list. A Ship of Bones and Teeth by Karina, Halle. This is a Little Mermaid retelling that also has a bit of Pirates of the Caribbean references in it, and it is so dark and gruesome and fun. In the beginning, it's the classic tale. You have a mermaid who sells a piece of herself to a sea witch to marry a prince, only that prince turns out to be a complete jerk. He's abusive and he is with her for about 10 years. After 10 years, she's sick of it. She's ready to be done. She's beaten down and broken down so far that she just barely wants to survive. And she wants to find that sea witch and find a way back to her home in the sea. Along the way, she meets Captain Ramsay Bones, who also wants to find that sea witch, and they kind of team up together to do so. This book has some scenes in it that are incredibly unforgettable. I mean, the scene in the jail in the belly of the boat. The scene on the mast in the storm, like visually, I could picture everything in this book and it was phenomenal. I think this is one of Karina Halle's best books in my opinion. I haven't read all of hers, but this has been one of my favorites and it absolutely would have made it on my list of nominations for the Goodreads Choice Awards. This has under 10,000 ratings and also under a 4.0, but I gave it 5 stars. Okay, I'm sorry, I just loved it. The next book is a book that honestly the physical book is not out yet, so that's probably why it didn't make this list. The Audible exclusive was out earlier this year in May, and that is The Endless War by Danielle Jensen. This absolutely would have made my list again because I've given every book in this series 5 stars. Danielle Jensen is just one of my absolute favorite fantasy romance authors, and this book I'm sure will be no exception. I have not read it yet. But I'm going to. It's pre-ordered. I'm just waiting for the hardcover. I didn't want to listen to it on audiobook yet. I wanted to wait for the hardcover, and that's probably why there are very low ratings and it didn't make the list. This is an epic fantasy against, again, 2 warring people from opposite sides of this war. One, the man is very bookish and the other is kind of a pirate. I absolutely loved this second couple from the Bridge Kingdom series. Carissa and Zara, goals, honestly. I love them both. I didn't think that they could beat Laura and Aaron, but they absolutely did for me. This whole series has just been absolutely epic in nature, and it is everything that my little fantasy romance heart could want. The Endless War is the second half of Carissa and Zara's story, so I don't want to give away too much, but basically these two are on opposite sides of a war, and they're falling in love with each other. And who doesn't love that? That's like every book I read. Again, enemies to lovers, love it. They have to reluctantly work together, and through that they learn more about each other and they start falling in love with each other. This is a great ride. Absolutely love the series. Definitely check it out. The next one, also very underrated, and I think definitely deserves more ratings and more reads by readers, and that is The Everking by L.J. Andrews. Now, this is kind of a spin-off series of an 8-book series or 9-book series that she previously wrote, but I don't think you really need to read that series if you don't want to. I think you could definitely start with this one. The Everking has about 5,500 ratings on Goodreads, and right now it's sitting at a 4.28. And I agree, this is a really, really good book. Eric is hell-bent on revenge, and Olivia is a Viking princess. Eric wants to capture her to kind of get back at her dad for some war crimes that he did way back when. Eric was imprisoned as a child for many, many years, so he absolutely hates her people, her clan, everything, and he is a pirate. They kind of cross a magical barrier one night, take her back to his land, and on this incredible pirate ship, I would love to tell you about the pirate ship, but I think you just gotta read it. Like, the pirate ship is the coolest thing ever, okay? He takes her back to his land, and again, it's just these two people slowly learning more about each other, and maybe Olivia kind of understanding that some things that she thought were true were not true. This book was definitely steamy without being overly spicy. This first book is definitely more fantasy than romance, but the romance is there and definitely will be heating up as more books come along. And the Viking element in this, I will say, I didn't feel it as much as I wanted to, but this book was so adventurous and so great. I absolutely think a lot of people will love it, and I think you should read it. The next book, Fear the Flame by Olivia Rose Darling. I have not read this book, but I'm putting it on this list because it was really hyped for a while on social media, from what, at least the social media that I follow, and I really want to read it. It again has almost 4,000 ratings, but it does sit at a 4.13 on Goodreads. All I know about this book is that it is a dragon fantasy. She seems to be bonded to like 5 dragons, but it doesn't end up being a blessing. It's a curse of some kind, so she's kind of thrown into a different kingdom where she kind of becomes like an assassin queen. And in order to feed her people, she has to team up with a commander from an allied army that, again, reluctant allies I love. This one has so much potential. Again, I think it kind of is born from the Fourth Wing craze that's going on. We all just wanted another dragon romance out there, and this one sounds really good. There's a lot of politics, a lot of war, and a romance. So, hello, those are all things that I really love. Oh, and it did say there was a heist involved. So again, another thing that is just like a word that I gravitate towards, and I really want to read this, so I'm putting it on this list because it's also a book that I need to read. Another Romantasy book that came out this year that I'm really surprised is not on this list is That Time I Got Drunk and Saved a Human by Kimberley Lemming. Now, this book was independently released and then picked up by an indie publisher. So the book itself is actually, I think, releasing next year, maybe? And that's why maybe it didn't hit this list because well, also the ratings are kind of low, but again, 4.26 average on Goodreads right now with about 3,500 reviews. The Mead Mishaps series in whole is just hilarious. This is a different kind of romantasy. It's not an epic fantasy romance. It's more cozy. There is a lot of adventure in these books, but it's not like the epic romance of like Fourth Wing or Carissa Broadbent. It's much lighter in tone. And honestly, Kimberley Lemming, she just makes me laugh. Like every book of hers has made me laugh, and this is probably going to be no exception. Yes, I haven't read this one yet because it's the only one that isn't on Kindle Unlimited. How dare you? No, honestly, I understand why she got picked up by a publisher and they're redoing everything. So it's fine, it's fine. Guess I'll have to buy it on my own. I mean, I've literally bought every other book of hers, so I don't know why I haven't bought this one yet. All I know about it is it was with a dragon shifter, and they'll get into some antics and some sexy times. These books are pretty spicy, and I have loved every single one of them, and also they make me laugh. So yes, This should have been on the list. I would have loved to see it on the Goodreads Choice Awards. Kind of understand why it wasn't, but that's okay. Another book that came out this year that I think probably should have been on this list, it's definitely hit some charts on Kindle, and that is Bonded by Thorns by Elizabeth Helen. This is a polyamorous Beauty and the Beast retelling. There are 4 fae beasts, fae princes, and she's a bookworm. And she does not have to choose between them. She gets all of them. There are some male-female and male-male content in this, so we love that. And that's all I really know about it. I personally haven't read it yet, but I think that with a 4.01 rating on Goodreads and over 20,000 ratings, why wasn't it on the list? Like, you know, whether you loved it or hate it, doesn't really matter. It's got some good ratings on here, so I definitely think it should have made this list at some point. And the last book that should have been on the Goodreads Choice Awards but wasn't is another book that's not out yet. Okay, I know, I'm doing this on purpose, right? But there's so many romantasies out there that are so good that we haven't checked out yet because we're so stuck in all these series. And I know this is another book 1 of a series, but still, let's check it out because it just sounds so good. This is a queer fantasy romance story with sisters who are wolf shifters. They are princesses, and one is an heir and the other is a spare. And there is some kind of evil sorceress that is doing not so good things to the kingdom, and Halle, the spare, has to kind of save her sister. And in doing so, maybe she falls in love with a prince or a princess. I don't know. The book is not out yet. It comes out December 5th. This sounds so cool though, and the cover is gorgeous. This says it's full of adventure, love, gender, exploration, and self-discovery. A River of Golden Bones follows Halle's journey through treacherous wolf kingdoms, monster-filled realms, and the depths of their own heart in this thrilling romantic fantasy. This sounds really good. I definitely think if I don't pick it up in December, because I am in the romantasy mood right now, I will pick it up in early January or February because this sounds really right up my alley. So that's it. That's my list of romantasies that I think you should read that didn't make the Goodreads Choice Awards list that came out this year. Let me know what you think of these books. Do you think I made some good choices? Do you think I made some bad choices? Have you read any of these books? Let me know in the comments below. And if you liked this video, please give it a like and subscribe to my channel. It would really help me grow. And as always, I hope you have a wonderful day and I'll see you next time. Bye.